encrypted. Wait. We are encrypted with internal codes of conduct through our DNA, and in that encryption makes its way into the surface of our daily living, daily lives. Okay, fine, we'll go with that. Okay, I have to read the second one.
Are we done with one?
Are we done with one?
Do we have the who, what, when, where, how?
I don't know. It's all over the place.
But I think right now we've just gotten this from
Right?
sentence 1.
Right.
So let's go on to sentence 2 now.
Well, let me read this real quick. So, it is inevitable that our reinventing reflects in our hunting, gathering, creating, and living or making in our daily lives, right? We are encrypted with internal codes of conduct through our DNA, and that encryption makes its way into the surface of our daily lives. Okay.
Awesome.
The next one is, yet when you come to examine it, the original affluent society was none other than the hunters in lies, in which all the people's material wants were easily satisfied. Was it easily satisfied? To accept that hunters are affluent is therefore to recognize that the present human condition of man, slaving to bridge the gap between its unlimited wants, is insufficient means, and his insufficient means is a tragedy of modern time. Lies, I tell you.
So let's just focus on that second sentence. Let's see what we can drag out of it.
Fine. Yet when you come to examine it, the original affluent society was none other than the hunters. Affluent society was none other than the hunters. Why? In which all the people's material wants were easily satisfied. I don't think it's easy.
So
I disagree.
Let's look at. So is this a factual statement, or is this a?
I think it's an observation.
Right.
None of us know if it's factual because none of us are there.
Right.
So what would I say?
You would say the author goes on to.
The author.
Yes.
The author goes on to say that
right, when it comes to examine the original affluent society.
To examining the original affluent society.
Right, and then
the hunter-gatherers
are the first.
The
first of affluent society.
First, but not just the first. He's trying to say the first and the better.
Well, because
the first.
Is he saying though that the reason that they were affluent society is because they were the only society?
Okay, the hunter-gatherers are the first affluent society.
Or the original. Because there were no others.
Right, the original.
So yeah, it's like saying they were the original gangsters.
The original affluent society.
If Snoop Dogg were here with you, that's what he would say.
We're distracted. Okay, the original affluent society, the hunter-gatherers are the original affluent society because, I will quote him, all the peoples material wants were easily satisfied. What human being is satisfied? We're never satisfied.
So if they were the affluent society, who were the lower class?
True. I guess as we read, that's where that it will be answered.
So maybe you could raise that question.
Wait. The lower society is us today, because he says present human condition of man slaving to bridge the gap between its unlimited wants and its insufficient means is a tragedy of modern times.
Right, so what is he saying there?
He's saying, my friend, if you did not pay attention, is that hunter-gatherers was the better society because it did not desire as much as we desire today and never ever being satisfied.
Right there.
Okay. Hold on. We recorded it, right? Okay. So hold on. The hunter-gatherers are the original African society because all the people's material wants were easily satisfied. And you asked the question, who's the less?
Right.
Then,
So who were the lower class? And
so
you
how
said
would
that. You said that. So.
according to the author,
Right. According to. And then you
Salins.
Right.
According to Salins,
Right.
the lesser
Class.
lesser affluent.
No, not
The
affluent.
lesser class society.
Right.
The lesser class of society is the modern society because it has unlimited wants and insufficient means. I want to say needs. Insufficient needs.
Either one will work in insufficient means of meeting those wants.
I'm in a flow. So, according to Salins, the lesser class of society is the modern society because it has unlimited wants and insufficient needs. Ooh, that sounds like a rhyme. Yeah. Unlimited wants, insufficient needs. Okay. The modern society because it has unlimited wants and insufficient needs. And tragically, unlimited wants and insufficient needs.
So, what if we just look at this for a moment? I think this is interesting.
Okay, hold on. According to Salins, the lesser. So. Okay, needs. Okay, what did you want me to look at?
Just
To
this.
accept that hunters are affluent, I don't. Excuse me. Is therefore to recognize that the present human condition of man, slaving to bridge the gap between his unlimited wants and his insufficient needs, is a tragedy of modern times. Okay. According to Salins, the lesser class of society is the modern society.
I think this is kind of agreeing with what you wrote there, though. So to accept that hunters are affluent. So you were saying earlier that they are affluent because they don't have these ridiculous wants and
No, that's not what I'm saying. Wait, hold on. The people's material wants were easily satisfied. According to Salins, the lesser class of society is a modern society because it has unlimited wants and insufficient needs. However, can I say? However,
comma.
However, I want to say it's just a thought. I'm not gonna. It's not something I want to read right down. Hold on. However,
don't waste thoughts.
Wait. However,
Don't waste thoughts.
although he may be right, I don't want to put this on my paper.
Why?
He might be right in that there is an excessiveness.
That's perfect. Why would you want to put that down?
However,
Right, who's he?
Salin may have a point in that there is an excessiveness
In current day society.
in not just in current. There is an excessiveness in our no, not in our wants or goals. There is an excessiveness. There's an overload of. There's an overload of. Can you say there's an overload of excessiveness?
Of course. Of course.
Okay. There may have a point in that there is an immense amount of resources
Wait.
we may or may not.
Might. Don't use may.
That we might not necessarily need. However, the evolution of man is not in just his or her physical stance. However, the evolution of man is not in just his physical development, but in his technological,
Keep writing.
but in his engineering of
Keep
technology. Engineering technological ways of existing. The madness begins.
Yeah,
Okay.
I love it.
Okay. So,
So-
development, but in his engineering technological ways of existence. Does that make sense? Because I'm just going.
That's
going.
okay.
I'm just going.
That's the idea.
Okay, so this is 1 and this is 2.
Okay. And
What else?
so,
Okay, the slaving part. To accept that hunters are affluent, therefore to recognize the present human condition of slaving? Slaving? I want to quote this. What do I say? Silent continues to.
so I would say maybe try and take a complete thought
Okay.
that the author, so you can quote him, or maybe you can just quote the whole sentence.
Yeah, maybe I
Then-
should. Yeah. Okay, hold on. So.
No,
right
no,
here-
leave that and then start a new sentence. So try to introduce this sentence and then.
So just start it,
Yeah.
quote it?
Well, it would be better if you introduce the sentence. So why does this sentence stand out for you? And
how would I say
so
that?
so
This-
what moves you? So when.
The
when-
quote.
No, not the quote. So the statement.
The statement.
That Salas. That's what's his name? Salins.
Salins
Makes about
makes about
the human condition.
the human condition
Historically,
historically
right, about how humans have evolved,
humans
about how,
have evolved to slaving
no, to the current day,
to the current day
proves to be quite interesting.
I like how you say quite interesting, because I was like quite, I was going to say quite short-sighted.
It might be considered a tad too negative.
Okay.
So I would say
Very
interesting, right? And period, and then so Salins writes,
Salins
right,
writes,
comma,
comma,
open quote, and then
to
writes,
accept that hunters are affluent. Oh my God, we're gonna write all 3 pages today, right? You said, wait,
this,
you
no, you
open
can't do it.
palmed you and then you gave me
No,
a
you
fist
can't.
bump.
Yeah.
Terrible.
This is bad mother. You know, you can't open palm people anymore.
I know.
It's against the law, according to President Trump, and you should always obey President Trump because he's the best. Okay. I thought you'd get
Is
that
that
reaction.
sarcasm?
Shh. Come on, this is the movie. This is gonna be on the big screen
Oh
one
my
day.
God, that's terrible. To accept that hunters are
Right.
affluent.
Just word for word.
recognize that the present human condition of slaving
of man.
Slaving to bridge the gap between his unlimited needs and his insufficient means is a tragedy of modern times.
So, good. So, what do you call it? Uppercase 9? When you type, like open bracket.
Closed.
No.
This is
good.
open and this is closed.
Right. No, that's close quote, but you have to open the bracket now. Like, because you're going to cite the source.
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay.
Right. And then, so, silence. Comma. Right. Lowercase p, period. Lowercase p, period. 1.
Oh, there's no...
No, 1 p. Only 1 p.
1 p.
Right. Get rid of both p's.
Oh.
Right. 1 p. Right. Period. After, and 1. Close. And then period.
Oh.
Right. Okay, good. Okay. So now, can you just go into...
my rants?
Right, about... So, but you seem to focus on slaving, though. So try not to be so subjective. Be a little more objective.
No, it's not because of black people.
Okay, good.
Because of that. Okay. I just find it offensive because...
Why?
I find it offensive because you're saying that the momentum of the human development is a momentum. It's a development. You're saying that my growth, not just mine, but the growth of the humankind, of mankind, not mankind, because that's old language. The growth of humankind, human society is slaving? No, I beg to differ.
Right.
I will tell you why.
Go ahead.
It is not slaving. It is goals. It's sacrifice. There's a difference between sacrifice and slaving. If we remained hunter-gatherers, all this would not have been made.
Right.
Buildings, apartments, homes, better electricity, light. We wouldn't even have gaslight. How about that? We'll just keep rubbing sticks together. How dare you say such rubbish, gibberish?
When you consider,
it's insulting, and like I said, it's a balance.
Right. When you consider humankind, how long have we had electricity and indoor plumbing?
Oh my God! First of all, electricity and indoor plumbing. Okay, let's stay on the indoor plumbing. Thank you, Jesus, for John's for the John. Okay, we get to flush our crap. Okay, back in the days we had to bury the crap. Now we flush it. Okay.
Right.
So you trying to tell me that at any given time, let's take this building right now. We want to relieve ourselves, not to be so graphic. We don't have to go into the bushes and hoping, especially it's cold, hoping no one sees us as we relieve ourselves. How grotesque would that be, not just for yourself and shameful, but also embarrassing for the one who's viewing this exquisite.
No, I love that. I mean, it's a part of human nature.
It is part of human nature, but there's some parts of human nature that we do not need to partake, engage, view, if you will.
Is that only a social construct, though? Or is that
No,
real?
it's not a social construct because I would get grossed out. It's
So-
disgusting.
So what did people do? Because, again, how long have
Obviously,
humans been on the planet?
can I say something? Obviously, human beings obviously said, you know what? Since human beings are the ones who created this, I like to be in my privacy. This is. I don't care how strong of a person you are, how dignified you are. One thing, going to the bathroom. Going to the bathroom makes. Someone said this. I don't know. A comedian said this. I don't remember who said it. I don't know if it was Joe Coy, who's white in Taiwan or something like that. Or, no, he's white in Vietnamese. I don't know, not Vietnamese. I mixed it in his culture. But anyway, the bottom line is, someone said, a comedian said, no matter how dignified you are, what makes us all equal is that we all get to use the bathroom. And we all, I think it was Dave Chappelle, and we all are like, there's nothing dignifying about using that bathroom.
So are we dignified?
Huh?
Are we really dignified?
Well, whoever perceived themselves as dignifiable. It's like, I'm full of dignity. Push! It's not a cute look for none of us. And that's what makes us all equal.
But I would say that's another social construct.
Anyway, okay, so what is it that you need me to say? So to accept that hunters are affluent is therefore to recognize that present human condition of mass slaving. So you're saying do not say disagree. So how would I say it? One might not accept. Did I start the sentence that way?
What's the subject matter?
Okay.
What's going to be the topic?
The statement that Sally makes about the human condition historically, about how humans have evolved to the current day, proves to be quite interesting. Sally's right to accept that hunters are affluent is therefore to recognize that the present human condition of man slated to bridge the gap between his unlimited wants and his insufficient means is a tragedy of modern times. One might disagree.
In what way?
That, can I start this? Okay.
One might disagree.
One might disagree that that hunter-gatherers were that hunter-gatherers were. First of all, I want to look at the word affluent because that's a very affluent is a. Let me look at the word affluent real quick.
So while you're doing that, so what does affluent mean to you, as the individual?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to.
I mean, just like off the top of your head, what would you say?
When I think of the word affluent, and I could be wrong.
It's okay.
Affluent comes across like prestigious.
Right.
In my mind.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
And nothing was affluent about hunter-gatherers. First of all, the term. Okay, hold on. One might disagree that hunter-gatherers were affluent because.
So you do realize that 100 years from now, people are going to look back at us and say they weren't affluent.
No, I don't think they would. I disagree.
Really?
Because we technology.
Right.
When I look at, for example, when I
technology
look at
marches on.
When I look at like the 70s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, I don't look at, or the early 2000s. I don't look at it like they weren't affluent. I don't do that. I look at it like, wow, we've evolved. We're constantly evolving. We are here. This is 2020.
Right.
We still don't have spaceships. We still don't have like the Jetsons.
Right.
But we're progressing towards that goal to be like the Jetsons.
Right. So
I don't
Would you
see it
compare it to
as
like 100 years ago, when there was no indoor plumbing or electricity?
Mhm.
So, how do you consider the affluent at that time? Because people thought that they were affluent when they went to the outhouse or used a pot.
Right, but again, that's that shows progression. To say that to say now that the hunter gatherers were more sophisticated, if you will, than modern society, that's the difference. No one's saying that they were not, like, no one's saying, to me, when I think about hunter gatherers, even the name itself, I'm thinking of people who, let me go back a little bit. There's a difference between being affluent and affluent society. Hunter gatherers were not. I would not consider them an affluent society, because it wasn't. They didn't care about being sophisticated. They cared about surviving.
Right.
In affluent society, on top of my head, because I didn't look up the word affluent, you said just go and tell. When I think about affluent society, I'm thinking about a society in which people are.
They have no wants and needs.
Not that they don't have no wants and the wants and needs. They have wants and needs, but it's not like.
Because I think that's what he's saying. What this author's saying. So he's saying that hunter-gatherers had no wants and needs because everything was free. You just go out and get it. But then modern society, we began to slave for things because you had the.
You don't have to slave for things. First of all, it's goals. It's goals. It's not about slaving. It's about sacrificing. You're sacrificing for something better. I'm in school right now. I'm not slaving for my
But
education.
everybody doesn't live your life though. People that have lots of children, they may have made a mistake. Let me finish.
But it's a sacrifice.
Let me finish. So people, they go to work. I know lots of people that say, I can't wait till I retire. They have jobs that they don't like. Okay, and they're most of the people that work in the world because they have to work for someone else. Right? But here, the hunter-gatherer never had to work for anyone. They never had to build a pension. They didn't have to pay taxes.
So they were entrepreneurs.
So they were affluent. They were considered affluent because just like the affluent today, they don't have the worries that the people, the lower classes,
even the affluent today, they don't have the same worries as people who are, When I think about affluent society, I'm thinking prestigious. When I think about hunter-gatherers, I don't think of prestigious. I think of people who were at the beginning stage of society, and they were making their way, they were surviving, they were moving and living about in society as they moved on.
But for that time,
affluent,
it was prestigious for that time because they didn't know indoor plumbing. They didn't know 747s. Just like in the future, when people look back and they're gonna say like, wow, they had to take a plane to go to London for 6 hours, and now we can just beam there in seconds.
I don't know about all that.
That's probably what the hunter-gatherers said. So but that's what makes you affluent today and them affluent back then.
No. The problem I have with that is not that they were not considered, that they're not affluent then, is the fact that this author is saying that they're more affluent then than we are now.
Right, because they weren't slaving, but now people.
But that's not
slave.
slaving. That's called sacrifice. That's called growth. That's called evolution.
You have to read
It's
some of the authors that talk about how employers, they took the hunter-gatherer opportunity from people. So you can't go out and hunt and gather anymore. You have to live within society because the bourgeoisie and the ruling class said that I'm creating a new society, so you can't do for yourself. So then you can only live for me.
Not necessarily. People still did for themselves. People still do for themselves.
No, you still have to pay taxes, and you you can't go out. You have to live in a country.
Right, but
and
the
this
taxes,
country
but
owns
the taxes, but no, but the country don't own us.
The country
wait,
owns you.
no, it doesn't own me.
Try not to pay taxes.
Well,
try to go to another country,
you know how many people,
and then try to get back into this country.
You know how many people don't pay taxes? But anyway, that's a whole different conversation.
It's just a matter of time.
Okay.
Right, but
Says you,
but then try to get back into this country legally. Try to go to another country legally.
It happens. It still happens.
Right,
but listen, but okay, you're interrupting me.
Right, but
you're interrupting.
Right, but I'm trying to get you to think. I'm trying to get you to think broadly. Yeah. So we're trying to do this. So I'm trying to get you to think broadly. Okay, about this.
Okay.
So don't just think in one way.
Okay.
Right. So that's what we're trying to do here.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. What time is it?
It's that time.
It's what?
It's that time. So.
Oh. Okay. So let's see. One might disagree that hunter-gatherers were more affluent than modern society.
What do you think?
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
So one might disagree that hunter-gatherers were more affluent than modern society because of the quality that modern society has. Because the quality that modern society has, the hunter-gatherers did not have back then. For example,